Hey, y'all, this is Miss V, the Storyteller Podcast, and I am so excited today to have Tyrell James. Listen, we had a meet and greet and we talked for the longest time. Listen, I knew he was going to be great. I knew he was going to bring it. So I was like, come and be on my show. So we talked about so many different things and we had to like fine tune it to figure out what are we going to talk about, because he has such a great background, you guys. He is an amazing man. So Tyrell,
Oh,
tell my
stop it, please.
yes. So don't be shy. You weren't shy yesterday.
I ain't gonna be shy today either.
That's right. You're gonna bring it like I knew you would. So
Absolutely.
tell my audience about Tyrell James.
Well, Terrell James, as of right now, I do a lot of things. I guess today we're going to focus more so on the entertainment aspect. So I've been in the music industry, acting. I'm not so involved in music as much as I used to be. I am going to eventually get back, but probably more so on the business and production side. Right now, I am focused on podcasting. I have a podcast network.
Okay.
I have I think about six different podcasts on my network. I'm about to get two more
Mm.
actually, um, I am. Let me see, boxing. On the business side though. On the business side, got a boxing team with some pro fighters. I always feel like I forget stuff when I'm running down a list of things that I do.
Okay, I'm gonna help him out, you guys. He's a
Oh, I'm an
father,
author.
he's
I'm
an
an author.
author, he's a
Yes,
father, he's a husband.
I'm a
He
grandfather.
your grandfather, he's a grandfather. So I'm
Grandfather.
gonna help him out a little bit, because you know when you married and you don't say my wife, you can get yourself in some trouble, or you'll say your husband, you get yourself in some trouble. So
Well,
anyway,
I thought we were only talking about the entertainment aspect. That's why I didn't get into the
no,
whole
we
family
want to
dynamic too. But
listen, we
okay,
want
I'll
to
give
get
you
to
everything.
know Terrell in all his glory. So, as Terrell told you, he is an entertainer, and you all know that I'm a storyteller. So, you know, right then, the two of us connected.
Right.
And so, I wanted him to come on the show and talk about how he became an entertainer. Just like if you remember, I wrote and shared a story a couple of weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago, about life during the pandemic. And basically, I talked about how I became a storyteller. I shared with you all my story, and pretty much it was just God told me He wanted me to be a storyteller after He gave me my voice back. And y'all know I've been talking ever since I got this voice back. And He wanted me to have a podcast, but I didn't know how. So right at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, what am I going to do? So the day that the that the world shut down, I went to a conference, y'all. I went to a conference to learn how to be a storyteller. That is where I told my first story in front of a group of people. That is where I met my storytelling mentor. Um, we connected, and the good thing is she lived in the same state as me. So she was able to mentor me. I went to conferences around the world via Zoom, and I learned my craft. I took everything that was offered for free
Mhm.
because the world was shut down. And at that time, people were doing just that. Zoom was hot, free. The conferences were free, but I met people around the world, and I learned how to be a storyteller. So, with all of that said about me and how my journey becoming being a storyteller, Terrell, tell us how or what pushed you to become an entertainer. Was that always in you or something that developed later?
I think that it was something that was always in me, just simply because I believe it was a God given gift. So,
Mm-hmm.
I was born with it. I didn't realize it until actually I realized it pretty early on. I was in the fifth grade. I was in a play. And I remember this, one of those defining moments. I remember the exact spot I was standing on the stage. I remember looking out into the audience. And I remember I was one of the stars of the play.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this thought. I almost forgot my line because I was so engulfed in this thought. And the thought, well, I had two thoughts. Number one, I decided at that moment that I wanted to be an actor. I was 10 years old, and I
Wow.
decided that I wanted to be an actor. And two, I decided I didn't want to go to college because I wanted to be an actor. So I did the college thing for like one semester. I did it for my mother, and actually I only did it like 8 weeks out of the semester. I
Oh, wow.
showed up. I showed up to turn papers in. That was it.
Okay.
The worst thing they could have done was give me a syllabus to let me know when things were due. I'm like, really? Cool. This will be the day I show up. This will be the day I show up. Other than that, I'm not going to school. So I showed up just to turn in papers. I did that one semester. Was like, man, I'm getting out of here. I ain't doing this. But yeah, I was 10 years old. I remember exactly where I was. I was standing on that stage, looking out into that crowd, and I decided I want to be an entertainer. Now, um, acting came a little bit later for me.
Okay.
I started writing. I had a teacher that came to me and
Mm,
asked me to write a poem about Martin Luther King.
okay.
And this was this around the same time. This was fifth grade. And I wrote this poem, and she was blown away. And I remember thinking, as I was reading it, I was blown away too. I was like, this is really good. I was proud of myself, right? I
Yes.
read it to my mother, watched her, she was blown away. Read it to my aunt, my mother's sister, she again blown away. But to me, they don't count
Mm,
because you're supposed to be proud of everything I do.
okay. I
But
can see that.
my teacher said, and this is what really resonated with me. My teacher said, she said, she told my mother, she said, this kid is 10 years old, writing as if he is 20.
Wow.
She said
Wow.
he has an amazing gift to put words together. And when she said that, I said, oh, well, maybe
Mm,
I can do something with writing. So then
yeah.
sixth grade came and I wrote a poem for graduation. And then eighth grade came. And in eighth grade, I decided, all right, I want to rap.
Oh, okay, rapper.
Right. So at the time I was listening to Tupac a lot.
Okay.
Right.
Hmm.
So I remember I wrote this rap, and in the rap I said something. Can I cuss on here?
Sure.
Okay. So
I slip up every now and then, you know. We human, you know. If
yeah,
they can bleep it out. Whoop.
yeah, I'm not gonna do a bunch of cussing, but I'm just gonna tell you what I
Oh,
said
go
in this
ahead.
rap.
Go
Right.
ahead.
So I said something about some bust ass cops
Okay.
in the rap, right? And then I read this, I rapped this for my girlfriend at the time, right? And when I rapped it to her, she said, I'm offended by that. And I said, why? She said, my uncle is a cop. And I was
Oh.
like, I ain't talking about him. I'm talking about the bad cops. She was like, I don't. She said, well, then make it specific to the bad cops then.
Oh,
And I
that's
sat there and I thought to myself, wait a minute. I ain't never had no issues with no cops. I'm rapping Tupac's life, not mine.
right. Oh,
And I
wow.
decided at that moment, I said, you know what? If I'm not going to be honest and real in my music,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing this. And I
Mm-hmm.
stopped rapping for 2 years.
Wow.
And the thing that got me back into it was I started running into groups of people that were battling. And I knew I still had the gift to put words together. And everybody had clicked up. And they were, so a couple of them had heard me rap because at that point I started writing raps again. And a couple of them had clicked up and they were like, hey, you rapping with us? The other one was like, you rapping with us? And I was like, no, I'm not rapping with any of y'all. I want to battle every single one of y'all.
Oh,
Every
okay.
single crew, I'm battling by myself. And they were looking at me like I was crazy, and maybe I was, but I didn't care. So that's what I did. I battled everybody, and nobody could dethrone me.
That's
Nobody
good.
could beat me. So now I'm like, okay, I got a gift to rap. So I'm going to really pursue this thing. So I started pursuing it. When I graduated high school, I hit the ground running. Well, after that semester in college,
Mm-hmm.
after that semester in college, I really hit the ground running
I
with
don't know
trying
if that's a
to.
semester. That was a show up in
Yeah,
college.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. The 8 weeks that I showed up
You
during
just
the
showed
semester,
up.
right, right. So I hit the ground running. I had some connections down in Atlanta. I was making trips down there. Um, Throughout my music career, I ended up signing to some people who had managed some pretty prominent people. One person, now I'm not going to throw the name out there. The other one, I will say this, and this is a pretty big name, but this I was managed by the same guy that used to manage the Jackson Five and the OJs.
Oh, Okay.
and I fired him. I had another guy who managed pretty big rapper, well-known legendary rapper. I fired him too.
Okay, Mr. Firer.
Right. And then I ended up turning down like 3 deals because everybody just kept trying to change me.
To change you. And I'm going to stop because I really want you to share your story, but my
Mhm.
mind, my memory is not as good as it used to be. So I wrote down a couple of questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back just a little bit. When you decided that you weren't going to rap for those 2 years, is that the 2 years that you decided to find yourself like who you really are, so that when you started rapping again, it would be 100% you? Because I know when we're younger, we are so influenced by so many other people that we don't really know ourselves because we try to connect and try to be other people.
Mhm.
But in that 2 years, do you think in that 2 years, that's where you like really found, okay, this is Tyrell, this is who I am, this is what I want to write about?
No, I wasn't even thinking about rapping during those 2 years.
Okay,
I
you
didn't.
weren't.
I'm so competitive that what happened was when they brought it to me, as far as the little battle, the battle league that they had, when they brought that to me, the competitor in me said
Okay.
attack.
Okay. I got you. I
and
got you.
and then something just kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, all right, cool. Then I started, going at them. And even I actually even took the battling thing further because I used to battle on the radio, on the DC radio stations. They had the
Okay.
Friday night mic fight. And I used to battle like every Friday night, and nobody could beat me in there. I ended up beating myself. I ended up forgetting my lyrics, but at that point I was just getting tired of the battle. I was getting
Okay.
tired of being there. I'd been there about 2 months. Every Friday, 2 months, I couldn't think outside of the battle. It was like as soon as I leave the radio station, I already know who my next opponent is. As soon as I'm walking out, I'm already preparing for them. And I'm
Mm,
preparing for them from that moment all the way up until I see them the following
the
week.
following.
And I just could not
Wow.
think outside of it. I was getting tired of it. And I was starting to shut down. And then the last 2 weeks, I messed up. Now, the second to last week, I caught myself.
Okay.
And nobody could really tell that I messed up. That last week, though, I ended up just forgetting my lyrics in my first verse. Second verse, I ripped up. I hurt that boy. I mean, to the point that he came to me afterwards and said, "You messed up that first verse, but that second verse, you won." But they ended up not giving it to me because I messed up that first round, which I was happy about. I needed to get away from there. It was cool. So, but no. So, but back to what I was saying before. So, I learned so much in about the music industry, about business. So I was, even though I turned down a lot of opportunities and I got rid of dead weight, I got
Mm-hmm.
rid of people trying to force me to do things a certain way. There was so much that I learned. So I actually appreciate all of those things that I went through because I was able to take that into my next phase of life. Or so now we go into acting, and I understand that I have a rule with everything that I get into. There are two things that you can't touch: my soul and my integrity. Everything else we can negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they kept trying to touch my soul and my
Mm-hmm.
integrity. I'm
Yeah.
like, I told you the things we can negotiate. Everything else we can negotiate. Those two things are off the table. And
Yeah.
that's what they kept trying to touch. So um part of the reason that I got away from it was because they wanted me to rap about certain things that I didn't feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
rapping about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they wanted me to say certain things that I felt that I no longer represented.
Okay.
And even when I did represent some of these things, I didn't want to rap about them.
Wow.
I was like, why you want me to go over here and tell them myself? I'm not doing that.
So they wanted to put you in a box to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to bring you in. Oh, he's good, but we're gonna change him and we're gonna conform him into this particular rapper and sell it so we can make money. And to
Mhm.
me, it sounds like they really didn't care about you and
No,
what you wanted. It
of
was
course
all
not.
about the dollar,
Yeah,
all about the
yeah,
Benjamins, as they say.
right.
Yeah.
And when you understand that you're okay with it, like I'm okay. I get it. I know when I'm doing business with people, I know what it is. I know what it is. I understand all of the pretty language, all of the things they try to
Mhm.
do, the offerings, all of that stuff. I understand that it all comes with a price tag. I understand that. So I'm able to, just kind of, all right, yes, no. And that's the other thing. I know my value. And when you know your value, it's easy to
Yes.
tell people no.
Yes.
So I had a guy tell me, I'm gonna say this. You remember you told me I can cuss on here, all right?
You're fine.
All right. So I had this guy tell me, he said, you don't curse enough in your music. I said, well, fine, fuck you then. How's that? You like that song? So I mean, I have always stuck to my morals, to my principles. I'm not
Yeah.
willing to bend or break for anybody. Um, I am able to, and I don't, not in a way of making it hard to work with me. It's not hard to work with me, but I do have a certain set of principles that I will not bend or break on.
You know what I think is so sad is that someone who comes with integrity and knows who they are, they make it so difficult, but they make it so easy for people who just don't give a, that
Hmm.
just don't care, and it's all about the money. And it's
Right.
almost like you have to sift through all this mess to find someone that's
Hmm.
on the same wavelength as you, to help you to move forward.
Right.
It is more
Mhm.
of them than it is all the people that you need. I think that's so sad because
Yeah.
when you look at the world in its whole, it's not, the world is not full of all people who like cussing rappers, or there's a world full of people who like clean rappers, or there are people who like clean,
Now it
there's,
wasn't all the way clean. I just didn't cuss a lot.
but what I'm saying, what I'm saying, there is an audience for anybody.
Right.
It's there's
Yeah.
an audience for all different kinds of people. You just have to find your tribe.
Right. Yeah.
Once you find your tribe, they are like, I love him, I'm going to support him, I'm there for him, but you just got to find your tribe. But in order to find your tribe, you got to get somebody to help you to get out there so your tribe can connect with you and find you.
Right. Right. Exactly. So um that's there's a lot more that goes with that music thing, but we're gonna get away from music now because I'm trying to hit everything that I do as
Oh,
far as
yeah.
entertainment is concerned. So with writing, so I have 7 published books, and I remember I was working at a bank. I had always wanted to write a book, and my intention was to write just one book and then be done.
Okay.
But I had I remember I was working at this bank, and I decided that I wanted to kind of step up a little bit. But I wanted to do things outside of the bank, but that were still connected to the bank. I wanted to become a life and health insurance agent.
Okay.
So the one time we had a meeting, and the regional manager came, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, I said, does the bank offer classes for life and health insurance?" And she said, "No, we don't." I said, I said, all right, because I really wanted to take the classes. She said, yeah, I figured you did. That's why you were asking, but no, we don't. About a week later, my sales manager came to me, and she brought all these papers to me and put it on my desk. She said, Tyrell, I need you to please take care of this stuff for me because I'm going to be gone for the next 2 weeks. And I said, oh, really, where you going? She said, I have life and health insurance class. I said, well, hold on. I said, who are
Wait
you
a
doing
minute.
the classes through? And she said, through the bank. I said, that's funny because so and so told me that we didn't offer them. I said, okay, cool. So I sat there at my desk. Now we had these really, really high ceilings, right? And at the top of the ceilings, actually, like right below the ceiling, there were windows that went around. Like they were on the wall, but it was right below the ceiling. The ceilings were so high that when you looked out the window, the only thing you could see was the sky. So I sat there and I looked at the sky, and I looked at the front door, and I looked at the sky, and I looked at the front door. I kept going back and forth. And I said, you know what? If I stay here, I'm going to
Mm.
continue to hit my head on this glass ceiling where I can see the top, but I can't reach the top. But if I go out that front door, then the sky is the limit. And then I sat there and I said to myself, the glass ceiling versus the front door. That would be a good title for a book.
Wow.
And a few years later, my very first book, I titled "The Glass Ceiling versus the Front Door,"
Wow.
and it's a self-help book, but it's a book. at the time I was reading a lot of self-help books, but I was always reading from the perspective of somebody who had already become successful. So it's hard for me to connect to you because
Mhm.
you're already there.
Mhm.
So I started writing a book from the perspective of someone who was in the process of becoming successful.
Okay.
And that's what my first book was about.
Wow.
So I wrote that my father ended up passing that year. And the year that I'm sorry, I started writing the book, put it down, came back to it. My father ended up passing. When my father, this was 2013 at this point. When my father passed, I said, I got to get back to writing this book, and I want to release it on his birthday. And that's what I did. I ended up releasing the book on November 13th, 2013, with his birthday, just to honor him because it
Mhm.
was the first birthday after he had passed. So um then after that, I was like, okay, well, I wrote my first book. I'm done. That's all I wanted to do. And 2 months later, I wrote another one. And
Yeah.
then, and then the year later, I wrote another. But
Yes.
the writing bug bit me. So now,
Yeah.
now I'm 7 books in, and I'm actually sitting on my eighth book is just about done. But I'm such a perfectionist. I've been sitting on the ending of this book, and when I say ending, I'm talking about I have maybe 2 paragraphs that I need to write to complete this. And I've been sitting on this in January. It'll be 2 years that I've been sitting on
Wow.
the ending of this book, but I'm just that much of a perfectionist. And I just really need to get it done because all a perfectionist is somebody who does something until it's perfect and then it still isn't perfect.
Yeah.
So I just need to go
I
ahead and
know
just
I
do it.
know how you feel because when that writing bug gets you, because I'm an author as well,
Mhm,
and I'm a part of an anthology book, and it's a group of ladies we got together during the pandemic, and we told our story, and I share in the book about me losing my voice and getting it back and all that. But prior to that, I had written a book, and I have a book that's already written. As soon as I finished writing that book, I started
mhm,
another book just like you. And I
mhm,
have 5 books in me. I
mhm,
have 5 books. I already know the characters. I know
mhm,
everything about the book. And
uh-huh,
I started to write the second book. And just like you said, when you were talking about the rapping part, and from the time you left to the next week, all you thought about was those your rap, what you were going to rap about the next. You got some. That's
mhm,
how I was with this second book. I was like, all my time I was just in it, in it, in it, and I couldn't focus on anything else because
mhm,
lines was coming through my head anyway. So what happened, it was on a jump drive so that I could carry it wherever I was. When I got inspired to write, I could just
mhm,
plug it in and just write whatever. I misplaced it. I'm
mm,
not going to say I lost it. I misplaced it because I haven't found it yet. And I was so like just tore up
mhm,
about losing it. And I believe that it's lost until it's time to be found,
mhm,
because God knows me, I'm going to go right back into it because those characters are so real to me and the storyline is so good. But I know exactly how you feel. It's like you can't put it down. You got to get it all out. Once it's
mhm,
all out of you, then you can
mhm.
probably move on to the next thing, but you got to
Right.
get it like up and out. So I know
Yeah.
exactly how you feel. I don't have 8,
Mhm.
but I have 5. One is down and number 2 is halfway down. I have a book of poems that I'm working on. So I have the same. I feel you.
Mhm.
100.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I know this is the storyteller podcast. So this is about telling stories, right?
Well, I use
So,
stories as a tool. We all have
okay.
stories. So yeah, you can, if you have a story you want to share, by all means, please do so.
So I don't necessarily have a story, but I can give part of my story that led me to this point.
Okay.
So entertainment, everything that I do in the entertainment realm for me, whether it's music, acting, writing, podcasting, when I go back over my life and I start connecting dots,
Mm-hmm.
I start at a place that's very painful,
Mm-hmm.
a very painful place. I have I've suffered from depression, and I still have bouts with depression. Not this whole glamorized, trendy crap that they try to do. No,
Yeah.
I have got real depression.
Yeah.
I've been in front of 7 different therapists. I have had try to medicate me, and I will not take. The longest I was on any medication was 2 weeks, and that was because I was on a psych ward, and they were making sure I was taking the medicine.
Oh,
But
okay.
as soon as I got out of there, I stopped taking that medicine. Um, but I have been diagnosed with PTSD.
Mm.
Not military. Well, I was never in the military, but just
Yeah.
things. Things happen. I've been exposed to some things. I've seen some things. I've done some things um, that some things I can share, some things I can't share.
Mhm.
But I mean, it all just leads me to where I am. And it all comes out through the entertainment. So
Mm.
with podcasting, I have a podcast which we're about to do when I interview you.
Yes.
It's like surrounded, it's called the Rorschach Test Podcast, and it's dealing a lot with psychology and emotional intelligence, and just connecting that to who you are as a person and what you do for a living. um, my writing was coming from a place of pain.
Mhm.
When I first started writing my books, yeah, it was a self-help book, but I mean, you need help.
Yeah.
Like it was
You go
coming
to
from
a
a place
self-help
of
book,
pain.
right.
Yeah, it was coming from a place of pain. Some of my other books, like so psychological thrillers, that's really my thing. I love writing psychological thrillers. But even when I'm writing those psychological thrillers, I'm able to paint pictures and I'm able to recreate certain things. Maybe I've taken some things that have happened to me in the past that I wish I could rewrite. Now I can rewrite them.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't change what happened, but I can rewrite them in the book. And this gives me complete control over that. When I was doing music, the majority, a lot of them, I can't, maybe, yeah, probably the majority of my songs came from a place of pain.
yeah,
And I was rapping about certain things that were just painful to me, because when I stepped into that studio and I was able to get those things out, it was therapy for me. I had a song that I did one time. I just named it Tyrell James. I just named it after myself.
Say, "This is
And
me."
yes, because it was me, and I was just getting it all out. And after I recorded that song, I said, okay, nobody will ever hear this. The only two people that have ever heard that song, me and the engineer. That's it. And I'm like,
Wow.
I just had to
Why?
get it because I had to get it out.
Okay, yeah, it's
I
one of
just
those things
had
you
to
had
get
to
it
get
out.
it out, yeah.
Yeah, yep, just had to get it out. So once I was able to get it out, I felt better. And oh, plus there was some really incriminating things in that song too. So I definitely couldn't I couldn't release that song because it was some really, really incriminating things. Um, but and I don't care if he releases that. I mean, I haven't even seen or spoken to him in years, but I don't care if he releases that now, because I mean, it's whatever. Statute of
Yeah,
limitations anyway. So but yeah, it was just, a lot of the things that I've been through just have led me to this place of being able to entertain and being able to reach people, because I realized that through entertainment I'm able to connect to a bunch of people that I will never even meet. But
yeah,
I'd sit back, I'm the biggest Tupac fan in the world, right? And I remember that Me Against the World album and what it did for me. And it came at a very, very difficult time. That album came out shortly before I went into right before I went onto the psych ward. And I remember the time that I was on that psych ward, every single day that passed, I was sitting there thinking, I just want to get home and hear Me Against the World. I just want to hear that album. I need that album. And when I came home, as soon as I came home, as soon as I got off that psych ward, I went home, I rushed home and turned and grabbed that tape because I had the tape, It was so I put that tape in and I just sat there and I just listened to it. And even now, if I get to a point that's a little too dark for me, I pull that album out, which is kind of crazy because it's kind of a dark album.
yeah.
You
But
know,
it's something that maybe you can relate to.
yeah, I can relate to, but it helped me. It helped me. It was almost like I was trauma bonding with Pac through the music.
Wow, I never heard that, trauma bonding. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And the thing is, I wasn't necessarily going through the exact same things that he was talking about in the music, but the relation there was the pain.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was king.
one
So
of the things I love about being a storyteller is I help people to find their stories.
mhm,
And we talk and we get to bond and everything, and I get people to really go deep inside and find what their story is. But
mhm,
the amazing thing about a story is like our life. Everybody's life is a book. It's just a book of chapters. And the
mhm,
thing about a book and chapters, you can change the ending any way you want to. So you don't have to, if you're going down one particular road, you
mhm.
don't have to continue. It's
Right.
just like a chapter. The next chapter can turn the whole book around. So
Mhm.
you have that ability to rewrite your story or to change your story. And that's what I like. What you were just saying is you
Right.
help, you have that gift. You can do that yourself, but you have to find out who you are. What
Mhm.
I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and tell us the names of your book, where they can find you, your podcast and all that, because I'm sure anyone's listening, they're going to be curious about Tyrell and they're going to want to know how to connect with you. So go ahead and tell us the names of your book, where we can find you in like your podcast and all that.
Okay, so I wish I had the list of everything. So I always forget stuff.
Oh, it's okay. Well, at least where we can find it, because I'll make sure I put it in the description.
Right.
So,
Okay. So my books are all on Amazon.
okay.
And I believe I sent you my link, so you'll be able to
Yes.
put the link in there. But so the books is the glass ceiling versus the front door, which is the self-help book. In between the lines, which is it's a love story, but it's like with a twist, with twist after twist after twist. I love writing with twists. Um, then there is the fight of my life that I did with my little cousin who actually passed from cancer when he was 25. I
Okay.
actually wrote this book after he passed. Took a collection of his poems, and I wrote from my perspective what he was going through, because he was more like my little brother, and I knew
Okay.
everything that he was going through as he was writing the poem. So I wrote from my perspective what he was going through during the time of each poem. That poem, that book is really, I when I first started writing my portion, I didn't see it turning into what it turned into, but it turned into a book that actually helped people deal with grief.
Okay. Okay.
Um, then there is moral, Moral. It stands for my own rules and laws. It is the things that I do, and my belief system as far as me becoming successful.
Okay.
Um, and doing it my way. That's why it's my own rules and laws, and moral is my morals.
Okay.
Then there's Stockholm Syndrome, which is a psychological thriller.
Okay. Ooh.
Um,
So you have a variety. I like
Oh
that.
yeah,
It's
I'm
a
all over the
variety.
place with my
Yeah, that's
writing. Yeah.
good. That's good.
Um, and then oh boy, see, I'm forgetting. I
No,
wrote,
it's okay. It's okay.
yeah.
So let's say we're on Amazon. We can just type in Tyrell James, and then your books probably should just come up.
I wish it was that simple. Now
Oh.
it's a whole bunch of other people, I guess, with my name, and then they just started,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
used to be that simple years ago, but now, like, if I type my name into Amazon, like I just did it yesterday because I was trying to get the link for you, and I just typed in Terrell James, and I'm like, all right. Actually, I'm gonna tell you what I ended up having to do. I went into Google and typed in Terrell James Amazon, and
Oh,
then
and
my
then your
Amazon
name.
page came
Okay,
up.
that's good. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
Perfect. That way they
but
can.
you have the link though, so
Yeah,
you
that's
can post
perfect.
the
Yeah,
link.
but just in case someone wants to do, before, so they know
Right.
how to look for the exact book.
Uh-huh.
And real quick, what are your podcasts? Or I know I have the links, but just shoot it out there. So,
So my YouTube page is Relic Media, spelled Rellic.
okay.
You got to make sure two L's, Relic. That's derivative of my name Terrell. So Relic Media. Um, then so I have the Rorschach Test podcast, the Quotes and Mirrors podcast, the Goddess and the Bruja podcast, um, the King's Lair podcast.
Oh, wow.
Oh my, no, I'm trying to remember everything. I just got a new podcast we're about to start called That's Debatable.
Okay.
Um, Now two of these podcasts I'm not on. I have another one that I'm about to start doing with a real estate agent. He's going to be coming in like once a month, just giving real estate advice.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm thinking and pairing up also with a business partner of mine where we're going to be kind of a finance, because that's the other thing I'm into. Like outside of entertainment, I'm into investing in real estate. uh, real estate investing, investing in the stock market, trading the market, and all that stuff. So we're going to kind of talk about that stuff, and even do some teaching people how to trade. Um,
Well, that's good.
and then,
You got a lot going on, and I
yeah,
don't want us to run out of time, but listen,
I'm
I
trying to see
am
the timer. I can't see the timer,
we're about to get cut off. Y'all know Zoom don't play. But
right?
I want to thank you so much for being here, and I will make sure I have as much information in the description as possible. So
Mm.
thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Bye.
All right, you take care.
Okay. You just cut me right off. Oh.